Hey there, I'm Ezekiel Gentle. Thanks for checking out another video. In this video, I want to talk about if you just got out of a relationship, what should the next step be to find healing and closure? I'm not an expert, I'm not a medical professional, all right? I've just been through relationships. I'm recently out of, just to be honest with you guys, I was engaged twice. I proposed to two separate women on two separate occasions in the course of my life, and both times it ended up not working out. And how did that happen? How did that happen twice? So I started asking myself that question, and ultimately the harsh reality is it was me. It was me. Now, are there regrets? Are there reasons that I did it? Yes, I have regrets, but I wouldn't change the course of my history because it got me to where I am, and I'm very happy about where I am. But I wanted to show you two books that made a huge difference for me. And the first one really got me into the part of my psyche that most of us leave completely just unacknowledged. We don't even really acknowledge this part of our psyche, even though everybody has it. And the book is called Owning Your Own Shadow. And the concept is really that whether you like it or not, you have these darker sides of you. You have these heavier parts of your personality, your spirit, really, because you've been through pain, you've been through difficulty, you went through something. And in that process, memories were generated, and for most people, resentment was born. So wherever you find the resentment, the disappointment, the frustration, the lack, that is part of your shadow. And one of the important things, the distinctions that the author here, Robert A. Johnson, makes in understanding your shadow is that it's a seesaw. Who you are in your kind of brightest, most powerful, positive, best for society, altruistic side, it's on one side of the seesaw. And on the other side of the seesaw is your shadow. It's all the darker parts of you. It's the heaviness, it's the anger, it's the resentment, it's the frustration. For many of us, it's not even defined. It's just this ambiguous amoeba of difficulty and frustration and pain. Often what happens is when that seesaw begins to shift and we get down here, and the shadow side is what's activated, we often lash out. Other people often experience that part of us unintentionally. So his point is really, if you can be aware of the fact that you have that no matter what, how can you then begin to change, shape, and own it so that you have control of it rather than it having control of you? If you know that you're on this seesaw, and I'm not really talking about, not having composure. It's very, very important that you can have composure, because if you don't have composure, anything that gets to you will set you off. And when you're set off, you don't actually have control. You're not in control, you're acting out of emotion, you're reacting. And the problem there is that you will then begin to typically create more problems for yourself, others, and yourself. But if you can maintain composure and begin to be aware of the fact that, okay, I have a shadow, I have a side of myself that I'm not fully aware of at all times, but I can become more aware of it by recognizing the thoughts as they come. Okay, that made me mad. Why did it make me mad? What's the feeling of actually being mad right now? Well, they didn't do what I asked them to do. Okay, why does that make you mad? Because I asked them to, and if they don't do it, they clearly don't respect me. Okay, why do you feel like them not doing it is not respecting you? Well, because I always do what they say when they ask me, okay? So you can begin to see how you start to kind of unwind this. And when you take the moment to be mindful, to have a mindfulness practice, whether it's meditating or just observing your breath or just closing your eyes and being quiet for a few minutes, you can then begin to change. But most of us, we want change without actually acknowledging the fact that our subconscious is driving. Our subconscious is driving. Most of our decisions, most of our personality is coming from our subconscious, so it's below our consciousness. The only way to access that is by intentionally rewiring your brain, by going to therapy, getting into meditation, reading books, having time to yourself, doing what feels right and natural and healthy for you in the moment. That's the only way. So on the heels of that, if you've recently separated or you're just going through a personal transformation, there's one other book I really recommend tagging on the back of that. This one is super short. Owning Your Own Shadow. Very, very short. Self-Compassion. That's the next book I'd recommend. Self-Compassion. This is by Kristen Neff. She's a PhD. And the biggest thing that comes out of this book, as far as my takeaway and what we're talking about, is the difference between self-esteem and self-compassion. You know, in relationships, we often subconsciously have a tally. We're tallying all the things that we've done. We're tallying all the things that they've done, good and bad. And we kind of want to make sure that that record is complementary, it's commensurate. But one of the issues there is that unless you're seeing the context, you will never humanize yourself or the other person. And here's what I mean. Outside of context, a lot of us look like failures. But if you're in the middle of your story and you actually have the context, you know what happened, you know why you did what you did, then it's incredibly important to deploy self-compassion. Deploying self-compassion means I'm gonna look at myself in this situation and I'm gonna choose, despite the results, to see the humanity in myself. Wow, I was really overwhelmed. Wow, I was really fearful. Man, I can totally understand why I made that decision because of the way I felt and the things that happened. That's difficult. That was challenging. That was painful. And acknowledge even more feelings about it. That was sad. That was devastating. That rocked my world. I never want to do that again. I never want to be in that situation again. And just go into that moment and that feeling, because only once we've allowed ourselves to be seen can we be compassionate. I can't give you compassion if you never tell me you're having a tough time. And so if there is a level of awareness, then you can deploy self-compassion. But many of us, we just kind of block out that pain, just like the shadow. We want to banish it to this other area. But until we're able to say, wow, this is ugly. I really, really dropped the ball. That was on me. I take responsibility. I see how I messed up. Until we say those things about actually acknowledging and taking responsibility for what we've done, we won't be able to have self-compassion. We won't be able to have compassion for ourselves because we're living in a bit of a fantasy. We've banished those bad negative thoughts, and only when they get triggered do they come back. But there's a way to live beyond being triggered, and that's only if you bring that shadow in. You give yourself compassion. Man, I never meant to hurt people, but I know I was doing the best that I could. I never meant to go down that road, but I was trying so hard to do what was right for me. You know, you've got to talk to yourself. Do you know what you need to hear? This is my last takeaway, and then we'll wrap up this video. It is crazy to me that we know what we need to hear and we don't say it. Many of you didn't get the love you needed as a child, from a mother or a father or both. Many of you received things other than love as children. Abuse, pain, neglect. And so until we know what we need to hear, and until we're willing to be the one who says it, we're gonna continue to go in these circles. Because it all comes down to this core need of wanting and needing to be loved and to be valued and to be connected. Many of us, psychologically, connection is more important than how we get it. So we just jump into a relationship, jump into dating, jump into this thing because it seems like, oh, well, there's a risk here of if I don't go forward, I might lose it. And it seems like it might be pretty good. So let me jump forward into this as much as I possibly can. But until we actually know what's running in the back of our minds, it's gonna be the same scenario, because we're compromising our values and things that are super important for the sake feeling connected, feeling in love, falling in love. And that's never gonna work. And I think some people, they get to that point together and they know that that's what needs to happen, and then they both go on a journey of developing themselves. But most of the time, in my experience, only one person is really on that journey, and the other person is either not aware, doesn't care, or just sees it as kind of your thing. You do, oh yeah, he does this thing, he's kind of like whatever. It's like, shouldn't we both be in on the same? So I'm gonna leave it there, but please be easy on yourself. Please be kind on yourself. You don't have to be kind to yourself any other time in your life, but I'm asking you, if you went through something painful, a breakup, a relationship loss, you're grieving, please be kind to yourself, because guess what? Nobody else really is. They might call, they might reach out for a little bit, people might say something to you, but just go deep within yourself and try to imagine giving yourself the compassion and the healing that you need. The love that you need is there. It's available. It's not unavailable. Okay, we've got to break this thought that what I need is unavailable. It's not. The awareness you have of your need for it is actually the key that should prove to you, it's available. I need this, so cool, I must be able to access it. How? And this is what I'm talking about. All right, so if you like this, hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment what you thought about this video. Different kind of content than usual, so I hope it worked out, but have a great day. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.